Okay, you got it.
All right. So you know who this man is? Marsters. All right. In reading the bio in the program, you know, everybody knows you from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Two of your fans have shown up. And Smallville as Milton Prime Brainiac. I can remember where you are.
Yeah.
So, and like Andromeda and yeah, and where else? Yeah, of course. There we go. Yeah, which will probably lead to my question about who's a better kisser, you know, Michelle Gellar or John Barrowman.
Okay. Do you want the question that you want, or do you want the truth?
You know I want the truth.
Okay. The truth is, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. Like, kissing for film is not really kissing in real life. Like, the more glamorous an image is, the more fake it is. That's what glamour means. Glamour means literally illusion. And so when you're doing a shot that is a glamorous shot, it's more of a fake, which means it's harder to actually achieve. When you're doing what's called an overshot, where the camera is over your shoulder onto a close-up of the actor who's actually being filmed. Your job as an actor is you don't get in the light of the other of the person who's being filmed. So you have to do your acting, but you can't really get into it because you'll blow the shot. And the closer you get to the other person, the easier it is to blow the shot for light. So when you're kissing someone, it's really dicey. And so I remember the first time I was supposed to kiss Sarah, she was. I think in the show it was actually Faith in Sarah's body, but it was really Sarah. You know? Sure. And I blew like 14 takes because I was playing Spike, and Spike was really into it, you know. And so it'd be like, oh Buffy, I love it. Just cut, James. You're a quarter inch to the left. Just move your head, James. Like that. There you go. And that's too much. There you go. All right. Try it again. And, okay, go. Oh, I love you so much. But cut, James. James, just tilt your head up. So on and on and on. So, and Sarah was finally just saying, James, stop acting. We all think you're such a great actor. But right now, just do it like a robot, please. And I'd be like, oh, yeah. And then I'd go act. And finally, after 15 takes, I got worn down, and I just did it technically in there. And we got the shot, and it looks very glamorous. Because the glamour is all about the lighting and the music and all of that. I just had to go in there without blowing the light. So, I don't know, you know, we got the shot, you know. But John was a great guest. But one thing I did learn, though, guys out there, with this I learned, if I want my wife to kiss me, I shave closely. Because that hurts, man. John is like... John's got a 5 o'clock shadow at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, like sand about being sandblasted, man. Yeah, so that's what I learned.
Cool. Now, I learned in researching your life that Spike was supposed to be a limited run character on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but the fans asked you, can we have more Spike? Now, how did that make you feel?
Made me feel good.
How did you learn about it from the producers? Did they just keep calling you up, or did they say, don't go away, don't make plans for next week, or what?
Well, like, the thing about Buffy is that, like, Buffy was written by created by Joss Whedon. And for Joss, evil is not cool. That was very important to him. He felt like it was a real disservice to humanity to portray evil as cool. To Joss, and I think he's right, evil is pathetic and often comedically stupid. And it's supposed to be very quickly gotten over and defeated. And that's why in Buffy, when the vampires were going to bite someone, they would get very ugly. Because he didn't want that moment to be romantic at all. And so when I came on the show, and the fans started saying, oh, we think of him romantically, that's a problem. You know, if I was Joss, if it had been me, I would have killed Spike off in one episode. As soon as I was like, nope, he's a danger, and get him off. But Joss Whedon is a lot more creative and a lot braver than I would have been. But I never knew. I mean, I really thought that I was about to be killed off at all times. I would read the end of the script first. This is even after like 5 years. I was convinced that I was about to be killed off because I was such ill fit for the show. And I was convinced, like, I used to hide from Joss all the time. Because I think that if he just didn't have to see me on the set, he would forget that I was in the show. And yeah, so I was just trying to feed my family. I was really happy that I was still around because I was a poor theater actor for years. And then I became a father, and it became really important to try to make money. So I moved down to Los Angeles. And so I did everything I could to stay on that show. But I had no illusions that I wasn't on the chopping block. It felt like I was always on the chopping block. And Joss never told me, you're safe now. But he backed me up against a wall early on and said, I don't care how popular you are, kid. You are dead. You're dead. You hear me?
So he was a great motivator, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some water if you need it.
Thanks.
Okay, let's move up to Smallville, where you played Brainiac, a classic character from Superman. Now, did you go into the role as a comic book fan? Did you? Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cool. So
I remember I had a comic book collection when I was younger. It was huge. And every time I went into the store to buy comic books, they would say, oh, this is a very valuable comic book. This is an investment, sir. You know, so you save up your allowance for a month to buy one comic book. And then I went to sell them to make money, and I got $3. But yeah, I read a lot of comics. Yeah. When I met the creator, Al Goff, who's got a new TV series on AMC called Badlands. If you like fight shows, that show is awesome. Yeah. But he took me out to dinner to talk about coming on Smallville, and I said, Al, I gotta be honest with you, man. I'm a Batman fan. And he goes, why is that? I said, well, when Batman goes to work, you don't know if he's coming home. Because if you shoot that character, he's dead. And the most exciting part of a hero's journey is when he puts his life on the line to help other people. That's the heroic thing. So if you're doing a movie about Superman, you can pull out the kryptonite, and it's fine, and you get that big ending. But on a television show, you can't bring out kryptonite every week, or it becomes repetitive. What are you going to do? And he said, oh, James, I got you covered. He's a teenager. He's going to be vulnerable to everything. You know, to his parents, to his girlfriend, to his self-identity, to everything. And we don't have to have, we'll have kryptonite sometimes for fun, but we'll have that vulnerability, don't worry about it. And at that point, I just went, dude, you've solved the most difficult character in all of drama to write for. Superman is very difficult to write for that reason. And he solved it. And they were able to go for 10 years without getting repetitive, which is just like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Also, Tom Welling looks just preternaturally young. It's not even fair.
And you do realize, and you, of course, as a comics fan, you realize you are the first live-action Brainiac. So did you try to bring in more elements of the comic book as you went along, or did you just go along with what the television producers wanted to do?
You know, in the comic, the thing that freaked me out about Brainiac was he was a robot, but he was sadistic. He had that maniacal smile when he was being mean to people, and like that all the time. And as a kid, that just freaked me out.
Sure.
And then the show, the whole sell of the character on the show was that Clark didn't even know he was bad. Like, Clark thought they were going to be friends. And so it was all about being subtle and being kind of kind, actually. And exactly kind of the opposite of what Brainiac, because Brainiac, you meet Brainiac, you know he's a villain. Like anyone who's green with the red things, like, that's definitely not a good guy. So, but I remember when I was throttling Tom Welling in his Fortress of Solitude, which was, by the way, a very hot set. It was like 110 degrees in there because white reflects light. It doesn't eat light, so the light bounces around. It's like a heat furnace. And funny side note. You have two characters in there, Superman and a robot that aren't supposed to sweat. Just mop them down, let's get the shot. Oh my God. But I remember I was throttling him and I thought, oh my God, this is my moment. I can do the maniacal smile. And so just without being told, I just went for the weirdest, kind of smile that I could, because I wanted to try to get back to those comics and give just a little bit.
That's fantastic. Oh, now we're skipping around a lot here because I know these guys are going to have some great questions for you, right?
And by the way, guys, you can ask me anything that you want. I'm shameless. Bring it.
Tell us about your music career. Ghost of the Robots.
Yeah.
Talk to them.
Yeah. Thank you. I've been playing music in bars since I was like 13, which is a great way to get into a bar when you're 13. But when I kind of chose to go for acting, and my guitar kind of went into a private kind of thing at home, and then I did an interview after I was on Buffy, and they found out that I play guitar, so there were a lot of clubs that were asking for me to play. And they didn't really care if I was any good. They just knew that they would sell a lot of tickets if Spike shows up to play music. And I was horrible. Because it's one thing to be good in the bathroom, at home. It's a whole other thing to be good enough for people, it's worth money, I remember one time I was playing a big club in LA, and Pink shows up. They come backstage and like, Pink is in the audience. She loves you, man. This is gonna be awesome. And I'm like, oh no, man. I wasn't under any illusions, right? And sure enough, by the show's over, Pink is gone. She didn't stay. She's like, you've ruined my my image of you. But then I met a man named Charlie DeMars, who was an 18-year-old. He'd come down from Sacramento, where he was getting a lot of radio play with his band Power Animal, and he had come down to shop his album out to the studios, not knowing that it's almost impossible to be heard down in Los Angeles. So he was having a problem with that, and he was happened to be staying with his brother, who was my next door neighbor, and I was just playing my guitar out on my stoop, and this kid shows up. And he's like, oh, you play? And we started playing guitar, and he started showing me the songs he was writing. I started showing some of the songs that I was writing, and we formed the band. And he said, as soon as we decided we wanted to do a band, he goes, I think I have a rhythm section. I've got a drum and bass. They're really good together. I think you might want to check them out. And I'm like, oh, let's get them down to Los Angeles. And let's do it this weekend. He says, well, actually this weekend they're in New York at the Lincoln Center playing jazz, but when they get back, and they're 18 playing jazz at the Lincoln Center, right? So they have those two guys were like, they were such musicians, they could bubble so perfectly together, but they were 18, so they could hit hard for rock, and it was a great fit. And so we formed the band, we cut an album, and then went to tour it all across Europe and the United States, and sold out everywhere. We've been all over the world. We've sold every club out in London. We played Berlin, Paris, Barcelona, New York, Chicago. Like, we've been all over the place, and we've sold everything out. And we are coming out with our 4th album. I believe we're hoping to get it out by August, and we're playing Sacramento next weekend. So come to Sacramento.
How would you describe your sound?
It is pretty straight ahead. It's like respectable pop rock, like Weezer or Ben Folds 5. It's pretty hard charging rock, but it would have been good on the radio if the radio was still playing rock and roll. It's like we call it alternative music now, but we used to just call it rock and roll.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, like the keyboards have taken over and the computers have taken over, but the rock is still there, and we're going to come back. Rock never dies.
That's right. That's right. If you had a choice between acting and music, which of the two might you pick? We'll put you on the spot here.
I don't have to choose. I've lived my life by having my cake and eating it too. All my life. And I I just say you just got to drink enough coffee, and you can do both. So, I don't have to.
Wait till we wait. Anyway, let's turn the questioning over to you guys. We've got Supergirl is going to walk amongst you. So pick someone.
So I actually have a question for you about the new show you're supposed to be starring in, The Runaways.
Yeah.
Have you been shooting on it already?
We have shot the pilot on Runaways. It's a Marvel comic. Cool. Sorry, guys.
I know.
It's about a group of teenagers that discover that their parents are supervillains. And so I don't play a teenager. So I'm a bad guy.
I know you're playing.
But the good news is I play the biggest douche of all. Horrible. Like we did the pilot and the other parents were like mildly bad, and then I opened my mouth and I'm just horrible. So it's a lot of fun. And we start shooting in earnest for the series on July 10th. Yeah, and we get to do it at the Disney Studios, and it was kind of fun. But yeah, the whole cast is fabulous. All the parents have like huge resumes. All the kids have smaller resumes because they're young, but they all have such great instincts, and the table read went so well. And Marvel, they said they're more excited about that pilot than they've ever been before. So yeah, there's a lot of expectation.
Thank you for the question. The Supergirl wanders around.
I was wondering what it's like to play both sides, playing Mr. Fantastic and also playing Lex Luthor.
Mr. Fantastic I didn't play, so I can talk about Lex Luthor.
Okay.
Yeah. My first Lex Luthor was for Superman Doomsday, which was they said they wanted a more adult Superman. They said that movie was for the grown-up fans of Superman more than the kids. So there was going to be a little more intense. And so I tried to play Lex as subtle as I could, kind of very realistic. Kind of like, I imagined like if Hugh Hefner was combined with the Lex Luthor that I normally see, that would be kind of where we wanted to go. And I remember they liked that, DC liked that Lex a lot, and they invited me back for the video game DC Universe Online, right? And I get into the recording booth to start doing the video game, and I start doing my lines, but I'm doing it like Hugh Hefner still, because that's the one I know. And they're like, cut, James, have you seen the artwork for the video game yet? I'm like, no. I'm like, can you come into the booth, please? So I go into the booth, and they show me a picture of Lex, and he's in like battle armor, he's like 9 feet tall, he's got rockets on his shoulders and stuff. I'm like, oh, butch it up. And they're like, yeah, please, butch it up. He went from like, oh, hi, how you doing, Lois, to like, I will destroy you!
Fantastic. We have a question there.
Okay, I am the biggest Spike fan, so I've always been curious. What was your favorite part about playing as Spike on the show?
The favorite, oh man, the word action. I hated the word cut. I mean, to choose one scene is almost impossible because I feel like every scene was my favorite scene. It was just like a kid in the candy store. I got to play a character that all the writers wanted to write for, and I got to be just horrible to the lead, which is really delicious on a TV show when you get to really take the lead down a few pegs on action. I remember there's a film at the end, like, you know, the blooper reel? And it's a little film that's made for the rap party. At the end of the year, they show the cast and crew all the funny behind-the-scenes stuff from the year. And I'm never in them. I'm never in them. And after about 3 years, I went to Joss and I was like, what, you don't like me? I'm never in the gag reel. And he's like, no, I like you great, James. You're just boring. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, man. And he goes, no, he said, whenever I call cut, you do the same thing for 3 years straight. You do exactly the same thing every time. You look down, make sure you're on your mark, you go straight back to your chair, you pick up your script, and you study your lines. Which I appreciate. Which is great, but it's not good for a gag reel, I'm sorry. He said, so you're boring in between takes, but once I call action, it's like I'm releasing a tiger, which is also great. Yeah, but I mean, the word action, like everything. Also, everyone else has to shut up and I get to talk, you know, like on the set, there's 100 people talking and then everyone's in your face and we gotta paint your this and you gotta paint your that and all of this stuff, and then this beautiful word action comes along and it becomes like a church. It's this beautiful silence and you can hear the littlest whisper, and then I can go to work and I can actually do what the one thing that I know how to do, you know, yeah.
Thank you. Spike is the best vampire ever.
So does this mean on Runaways you're going to be, you know, like acting up between scenes now to try to make it out?
I can't. I'm one of those geeks who, I'm the guy on the set who's like, boy guys, isn't this fun? Every time. And I want to put everything I can into the acting. So as soon as they call cut, I've got things I got to rehearse. I got things to think about so that I'm ready. So I'm not going to change.
That's good. That's good. We have a question over here from this young man.
I like that young stuff.
I thought.
We've already established your resume is so rich within the genre of superhero, supernatural, all of that. I'm not going to, especially with Buffy and Smallville, so I'm not going to ask what was your favorite role. I'm going to ask, what role did you have the most fun playing? Or
Again, all of them. Like when I was doing Smallville, Tom was really smart in the beginning. He told the producers, don't tell me what's going to happen later in the season, because I don't want to have to pretend that I don't know. I want to go through this journey with Clark. I want to be Clark. So he thought we were actually going to be friends in the beginning. And like I knew, of course, I'm going to kill you, or I'm going to try. And I just remember the scene where like we're like looking at the moonlight, we're in the barn on the second floor, and I'm like, Clark, you have to forgive yourself. It's all about forgiveness and love yourself as well. I'm giving him all this great advice, and I'm just thinking, I'm gonna kill you. And Tom is buying it, you know? And then in between cuts, he's like, we're gonna be the best of friends. It's gonna be great. My character doesn't have anyone who understands me. Oh, no, you're dead. Every role has some delicious stuff going on that I will take to my grave. It's just an amazing experience. I remember when I was doing this horrible movie called Dragon Ball. Horrible. And they didn't want to use a stuntman because they were bad producers. And like I'm known for doing a lot of stunts, but I'm not a stuntman. And they had a stunt guy, Danny Hernandez, one of the best in town. He was supposed to be a stunt guy, but they didn't want to put him through the 4-hour makeup for money reasons. They just wanted to put like a pullover mask, and it just didn't look good. And I remember realizing that they were never going to use him. They called me to set. Danny is up on a 17-foot tall cliff. And the gag is that the character, Piccolo's, when we were playing, was going to get sucked off the cliff by a magical pot, a makuba pot. And he gets sucked off, and in the movie he gets sucked off and he starts spinning down into the pot. So the first shot was just to jump off the cliff. You're wired, of course. Jump off the cliff and get lateral and start turning, which is a little bit dicey. And then another shot, you know, where you're turning faster and then computers take over, etc., etc. But the first shot is to get off that cliff. And Danny's up there, and action is called. Danny, you know, sucks himself off the cliff and goes into the roll, but he oversells the jump a little bit, and he comes slamming back against the cliff and just cheese grates across the cliff for about 15 feet, and they lower him down. He's like twitching and giggling because stuntmen are never hurt. Like that. And they get Danny down, the paramedics go over to him, and the director turns back to me and goes, "Are you ready?" can I see the playback? And I'm looking at the playback, and Piccolo's face is like this, tiny little figure in the frame, and I'm like, dude, they'll never tell. And he's like, it's a movie, James, it'll be blown up. Get up there. And I did the gag, and I got it in 2 takes, and when they lowered me down to the floor, and they're unhooking me, the head of stunts walks by on the radio, and he goes, well, we got away with that one. So these are moments that you keep, and I'm so lucky because my life is full of them. Every movie I've done, there are delicious, wonderful things that have come from me, even when they suck.
Beautiful. We've got time for one quick question. Supergirl, find us a question.
Hi, Edward from Illinois. So you've made some pretty awesome contributions to the extended Buffyverse in the comics. So I was wondering if we could look forward to any more of that in the future.
That's a good question. I've written a couple of comic books, and they would like me to write more. And I have been in talks with David Fury, who was one of the writer-producers on Buffy and Angel, about writing together. And we've met a couple of times and gotten a story off the ground, and then we get a big project that takes us away. And right now he's producing a live-action Tick, which is going to be awesome. Yeah, like the Tick was written by the guy, the Angel episode with the puppets was written by Ben Englund, wrote that script, and he's the guy that created the Tick. So now David and Ben are teaming up to do the live-action version. There's been other versions of the Tick, but it's never been in the control of the guy who created it. So this new one is actually going to be good. The good news is they're going to put me on that show. So I've got all that. But yeah, I would love to. We're not done with the script yet. We've got some ideas floating around, but we've been interrupted by projects, unfortunately. So you'll have to wait.
Okay. Well, that's great. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing to your Smallville, Torchwood, Buffy fans, anything?
If you...
Supernatural.
Great guys, by the way.
Macbeth, Ghost in the Robot. What else we got?
I have a show on the internet as well called Vidiots, which is about 2 guys that travel the world and are fools and don't understand anything they come in contact with. And we're just finishing up the first season. It's very popular. It's insanely expensive. It's a subscription. It's $1.30 per episode. So, but it's really good. So you can go online to vidiotsonline.com and sign up for that.
Fantastic. Well, everybody, a big hand for Mr. James